Welcome back to another episode of Random Access. This is episode 3, and we're going to get into the week's news. Starting off, we have Bungie announcing that they are separating from Activision. They have actually broken apart from Activision, the umbrella. They are going to take complete ownership of Destiny, and they are going to be the developer slash publisher for this game going forward. This was big news this past week because many people felt Activision was not really taking care of the Destiny game as it should have. Many people cheered when the announcement was made on Twitter and on various media news outlets. Most people, if not everybody, thinks this is a great move by Bungie. This will bring better game health to Destiny today and in the future. Some concerns, though, obviously, is Bungie taking on the financial responsibility for the game because Activision was supporting the game financially and helping keeping the game afloat. Bungie now takes on that role, and it seems like Bungie is willing and ready to do so, made by the news that they obviously went to Activision and said, "Hey, we want to separate from you guys, and we feel confident that we can stand on our own 2 feet." So this is great news for Destiny fans. If you like Destiny 2 or even the first Destiny, this is definitely promising for the game, as the future is completely within Bungie's control, and they look like they're poised to have a great 2019 and beyond. So, congrats, Destiny fans! This one's for you. The next big news item we have for the day is EA canceling the up-and-coming open-world Star Wars game. EA, sorry, I have a cough. EA had actually taken this game from another studio and closed that studio out completely and gave it over to this studio that was working on this open world game. Now that game that they were working on that was labeled as an open world linear story has been canceled. However, EA is still working on a smaller Star Wars game. There are rumors out there today saying that because of how long it was taking to develop the game and it not hitting the late 2019 window with the movie coming out this December, that they wanted to go ahead and cancel the development of the game and focus on games that they could get out the door this year to coincide with the release of the new film coming out in December. So there's a lot of speculation as to why that was canceled out. To this day, the people that were working on that project, we're not laid off. They were just reassigned. So the good news is that nobody lost their jobs because of this game being canceled, but staff was reassigned. Many people, especially in Twitterverse, were pretty upset about the announcement here because we've been waiting for a great Star Wars game since EA has taken the licensing ownership or have purchased the license from Disney to create Star Wars games. And obviously, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 had very negative reception, with the latter being one of the worst publicly shamed games ever to be made, especially on Reddit. It had the most downvotes on Reddit. It was a complete disaster for EA on all fronts, and EA has yet to produce any type of Star Wars game that has made fans clamor for it, like the old games like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. There are no Star Wars games out today that are anywhere near that caliber in Knights of the Old Republic, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any good games coming out here in the near future that have the Star Wars branding. So if you're a Star Wars fan, this is terrible news. Hopefully the smaller game that they're working on isn't just a cash grab game. There are rumors that they're speeding along that smaller game's development as well, and obviously when you speed along the development of games, you tend to run into a lot of issues and a lot of cutting corners and making the game unfun. Again, Battlefront 2 is a perfect example of monetization versus a really quick development cycle, and that is what you get. So beware, guys. I don't know how this is going to look in the future, but I'm pretty bummed out that Star Wars isn't getting the love that it deserves and that EA appears to be fumbling yet again. In other news, Amazon is developing a game streaming service. They're competing with Google, Microsoft, and pretty much everybody else out there that's in the tech industry to create a streaming service that gamers will have an option to choose from. obviously with us streaming here on Twitch, we're very aware of what Amazon has the ability to do. Amazon does have game studios that has game studios in house that develop games and are working on the games such as the New World, and now they're looking to jump into the game streaming service. So very interesting move by Amazon to jump in now at this point. But the game won't be available. I'm sorry, the service won't be available until 2020 at the very earliest. So you're looking at next gen consoles when this thing will be rolled out, and most likely the next gen consoles will be the direct competition with this game streaming service. So stay tuned. And for those of you who don't understand what the game streaming service is, it's basically a catalog of online games that you can select from and play at any given time. You do not own those games, but you have access to play and do as you please in those games while you're able to access those games. Think of it as the Netflix of gaming, if you will. So instead of movies, those are actual games that you can play for a subscription fee, and you can play those at any given time. Those games could get rotated in and out of playability, which is another concern for the industry about how the game streaming service will work in the future. So stay tuned. This is not a fad that's going to go away. Now, this is definitely going to continue in the future with the next gen consoles. Xbox has already announced that they're looking at a game streaming service console like exclusively, doing away with the hard drives where it could read discs and stuff like that. So they've already been talking about this and are in development of something like this, and it will continue to be something that companies look to monetize going in the future. So stay tuned for that. Next up, we have MapleStory developer Nexion up for sale. The majority share owner, who owns about 94% of the company, has put his shares up for sale. Tencent, EA, Activision, Disney are listed as interested parties for this. So for those MapleStory fans out there, I'm not sure how this is going to impact the game overall, but it definitely is a head scratcher to see how Nexion is going to be developed, the current games and future games, how they will be developed based on the company that buys Nexion's. And of course, everybody knows Tencent has bought basically every gaming developer / publisher out there, or holds large minority or majority shares in most companies that develop games today. So the likeliness of Tencent buying Nexion is probably the highest there, I would say. With EA and Activision not doing so well lately with publicity and sales, you got to wonder if this is a smart move for them to kind of shore up some bad publicity. And then the Disney interested party is very interesting. I'm curious as to see if Disney were to purchase Nexion, how that would impact the MapleStory franchise. Would we get Disney themed costumes to put on our characters? Would there be Disney themed or Disney elements inserted into these game worlds that already exist? Would this mean Disney is getting back into the game development game, if you will? There's a lot of questions about Disney there, but very interesting to see how that'll turn out. Next, we have some news. According to Streamlabs Q4 report, the Twitch growth has actually started to slow as YouTube and Facebook see an increase in streamers. And this honestly was inevitable because of how saturated the platform is. Because if you look at Twitch as a whole, you can look at many of the top directories and you'll have thousands of streamers to go through. And it really leaves your exposure and discoverability well below that you would find on other platforms, just because of the sheer number of people there are on the platform and how hard it is to be discovered on the platform. Even if you're on the platform consistently and you put out good content, it is extremely hard to grow on Twitch. And with that being said, it makes many streamers obviously move to other platforms or look to other platforms as viable alternatives. And those platforms are YouTube, Facebook, and as they continue to add features on those platforms, it makes it more attractive for streamers looking to grow elsewhere outside of the Twitch ecosystem. One interesting tidbit of news to note is that Mixer, however, Mixer is owned by Microsoft. Mixer's growth for streamer number growth actually decreased, but their viewership is up 195% in 2018. So while the Mixer streamer community declined, their viewership is at an all-time high, which is very interesting. It makes you wonder, why would the streaming community abandon Mixer as a platform? What type of system is in place today on Mixer that would maybe turn off streamers from streaming on that platform versus YouTube or Facebook or even Twitch? However, it does seem like the viewer is enjoying the Mixer experience and enjoying the additional features that it offers, as seen in the 195% increase in 2018. So, very interesting times. It's gonna be fun to watch how all these platforms compete for streamers and for viewership in 2019 and beyond. I already Twitch has announced a smaller, quote unquote, smaller streamer discoverability feature on the main page, making it easier for viewers to find streamers that maybe don't have a large viewing or a large audience, or that they're up and coming, and they've added that to their main page. So that's already one feature that you're seeing added in respect to the increasing competition of the streaming platform. So I'm sure there'll be more throughout the year, and I'm sure that the competition will continue to increase between these companies as they vie for your viewership and as they vie for people to stream on their platforms. So it's a win-win for everybody, I believe, especially the viewer and the streamer, because at the end of the day, they have to do things, they have to innovate, and they have to keep making amazing products in order for you to continue to want to use their service over another service. So this overall is a great move and a great indicator that the future is strong with streaming. They understand that it's here to stay and that it'll only get better as time goes on. And lastly, we have a sales update. Smash Brothers Ultimate sold 5 million copies globally in the first week that it was released. Additionally, I guess, and of that 5 million, the United States had accounted for 3 million of those copies. So of the 5 million sold globally, the US alone had over 3 million copies sold in the first week. So these are mind-boggling numbers. Smash Brothers Ultimate has been a huge sales success for Nintendo and continues to be strong in the gaming world. So it was definitely not unexpected that Smash Brothers Ultimate would be this popular. It is a cult classic, cult favorite. Everybody loves this, and the sheer number of characters in the game, everybody was bound to find a character that they really enjoyed. Sorry, Waluigi fans. Unfortunately, that character is not in this yet, but it should be coming out soon, or it probably will be part of a DLC package later on. But overall, this is a very, very promising start for Smash Bros. Ultimate. I do want to see the overall numbers after maybe a year goes by to see how strong those numbers were in a year's time, because this game looks like it's on pace to smash a lot of Nintendo records in sales. So stay tuned, guys. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Lastly, we have mobile games sales, and people gave the mobile Diablo game a lot of shit earlier during BlizzCon, and rightfully so, because nobody really asked for it, or did they? According to reports for economics, for gaming economics, mobile games generated more than 51% of game revenue in 2018. More than 51% of revenue generated was from mobile games. Now, when you think of mobile games as a normal gamer, as a console or PC gamer, not normal gamer, you think of what those games are versus a mobile game that is maybe not the same experience for you. And a lot of people are turned off by mobile games, rightfully so, because a lot of those games are cash grabs. But as companies look to the future to make their companies profitable, they have to look in the mobile games industry. The mobile games industry will continue to grow. Not everybody can afford a console. Not everybody can afford a PC setup to run these beautiful games. But many people can afford having a really cheap smartphone these days, to where they can access these games that they want to play and still get that gaming itch scratched by playing a mobile game. So again, if you're a company out there developing games, it makes no sense to ignore the mobile games industry, because of the sheer number of people that have access to mobile devices. Mobile games will continue to be a driving force in the industry for years to come, and companies that go after this market will be rewarded lucratively by the revenue generated from these mobile games. So stay tuned. Mobile games are not going anywhere. I'm sure this is not news to anybody, but it is very eye-opening to see how much revenue mobile gaming generates in comparison to the rest of the industry. It is a huge, huge swath of the market. Next up, we have our upcoming game releases. So, the two additions here. Let me move this side over here. Sorry. The two or the I guess yeah, the two new additions here is Life is Strange 2 Episode 2 is coming out on the 24th, which is next Thursday. And then the Resident Evil 2 remake, the hotly anticipated Resident Evil 2 remake, is out on January 25th. They do have a permadeath demo that people can try, meaning if you do die in the game, you're permanently dead and you cannot progress with the demo. That demo is out currently, but the actual game releases next Friday on my birthday. And it should be an amazing game based on all the trailers and gameplay footage that we've seen so far. It looks like it's going to be an awesome, epic adventure to go back to Raccoon City and see how the zombies infested everything. So that is coming out very soon, guys. Get ready, because we're probably going to play that game. And next up, we have our game spotlight. So the game spotlight here is called The Last Night. And some of you may recognize this game from a little show called E3, but we're gonna get into the game spotlight. For those of you not sure what the game spotlight is, basically I highlight a game that may or may not have a lot of media attention or marketing or awareness out there, and I kind of go over a few of the details about this game to kind of expose our community to different games. It's not necessarily only indie games. It can be anything from MMOs to indie games to mainstream games that just aren't as popular as other games, but definitely deserve some attention. And these are some of the games that are on my radar that we may eventually stream in the future. And today's game is The Last Night. It is developed by Odd Tales, published by Raw Fury. It's going to be available on PC, Mac, and Xbox One. The game was supposed to release late in 2018, but it looks like it'll be pushed back to late 2019 or longer. And there is definitely controversy around this game and the release date of this game, and I'll get into that in a moment. But before we proceed further, I want to show you guys the game trailer so you know what we're getting into. I do have that ready actually this time. I'm a little bit more prepared in today's focus here, so I'm going to pause the music here. We're going to get into the game trailer here. This is called The Last Night. This is the official game trailer. Beautiful game. Very, very beautiful. So sick. And there you go. That is The Last Night, guys. Again, it is. It was supposed to be released in late 2018, but because of the controversy behind the game that we'll get into, it has been pushed back into 2019 and possibly later. But the game, it is about. Again, the game trailer premiered at E3 2017. That's when the first big spotlight was put on this game, and since then it has gained a lot of attention for various reasons. Obviously, because of the amazing art style here. It's a single-player pixel art cinematic platformer, and it is basically a story about a guy named Charlie. He's a low-class citizen, and you're living in this guy's life in this futuristic cyberpunk world, and basically you explore the world where nobody in the world works and machines do everything. So think about the universal basic income that's been in discussion for a few years in the government here, where the robots and machines do everything for us. They do all the menial tasks for us. And we don't really, we get basically phased out of the workforce because the machines do a better job than us at creating, at building, at doing everything. And you're living in this future where you don't really have a purpose or you don't really have a job. And this is what the game is mostly about, where you are trying to find like basically self-worth in a world where you're not really doing anything. You're just living in this world, and all these machines do everything else for you. So it is a very interesting futuristic look at the game. It is definitely gloomy yet up. It has like an uplifting, gloomy look to it. I feel it has very unique and very cool effects with the 2D and 3D pixel art animation, and it gives you that grungy feeling. That's the word I'm looking for. Like grungy, kind of like edgy look that you would expect from Cyberpunk, but even more grungy than a normal Cyberpunk, in my opinion. So it definitely looks really great. It looks really, really well polished from an art standpoint. And then the gameplay is basically stealth. You can stealth your way through the game. There's gunplay where you're shooting enemy characters. There's real-time action dialogue to where, like, if you say something to a character in the game, they'll remember what you said each and every night after that, and they may eventually be out for retribution depending on what you said to them. So your dialogue options that you choose, or the dialogue that you speak in the game, does have consequences, either positive or negative, that last for it seems like forever in this game. Those characters never forget what you say. So it's very interesting. It sounds like the narrative is going to be really, really strong, especially with the background of this world that they live in, this sadness that this guy Charlie is going through. It looks like he doesn't look like a very happy camper, and it's definitely a game that I'll be watching in the future. But before we end our game spotlight here, I want to highlight some controversy around this game. So the controversy about last night is basically this: the developer, the main guy, Chris Sorrell, I believe is his name. He has been accused of being a Gamergate supporter and an anti-feminist, based on the game, based on comments that he said on Twitter back in 2014. And because of this, social justice warriors have come to ask for the game to be defunded by the publisher, to be not completed. There's been a number of issues with funding and support of this project because of how he's been portrayed. He even publicly apologized for his behavior in 2014 at the E3 awards. At the E3 show, on the PC gaming show. He publicly apologized for his view and his stance on his 2014 comments. And then, as of today, according to Chris Sorrell's Twitter, he does not hold the viewpoint of supporting Gamersgate or the anti-feminism movement. So he is totally for equal opportunity, and people. He thinks the best person should get the opportunities, not based it on like race, gender, or anything like that. That if you're the best person for something, then you should be the person to get the opportunity or job. Not there shouldn't be no other merits considered, and that's kind of his stance on the way he sees things. And rightfully, wrongfully so, he did make some comments that really have impacted the development of this game, and it is yet to be determined if this game will even ever be completed. And I was debating on whether to put this game on the Game Spotlight because it is uncertain if the game will even come out. But because of how cool the game looked, because of how unique the graphics looked, and I'm a sucker for pixel art, I wanted to put it on here regardless of the controversy, regardless of everything that's going on. I wanted to highlight this game because it is very interesting, and it's another example to remind us that even games have their controversy. Real life controversy and real life consequences for what the developers say and do, and it's kind of sad that this game may become a victim of stupidity on both sides of this argument here. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted if this game gets additional updates on on when it will release or if it'll ever release or if he gets additional funding. But as of right now, it seems like the game is on hold. And if we're lucky, we would get it at the end of 2019. I would assume, but we may never get this game at all. So, hopefully, cross your fingers, guys. Lastly, I want to talk about the upcoming conventions and events. Currently, PAX South is going on down in San Antonio. It started yesterday on the 18th, and it runs through tomorrow the 20th. And so far, I haven't been able to pull any news out of the event yet. Again, PAX South is one of the smaller PAX events in comparison to East and West. So I'm curious to see what game announcements have been announced from the convention. As of yet, I haven't seen anything, but I'm going to continue looking into this, and I'll try to provide an update next week if there's enough material to let us know if any big announcements were made at PAX South. And surprisingly, I guess that so far I haven't been able to find anything. So it's a little harder to find this news than I originally anticipated. But nonetheless, I will continue looking to see if there's additional news out there about PAX West announcements. I'm sorry, PAX South announcements, and we'll get back to you guys soon. And then starting on Monday, the 21st to January 22nd, the PG Connects in London is going on. That's a big mobile gaming convention. Again, remember how I mentioned mobile gaming being the future of gaming with the over 50% of revenue? Well, they're having a big convention in London to discuss game development for mobile games. Whether it be funding, whether it be game knowledge sharing, technology used to make the games, whatever. That is going on in London. It's called PG Connects London. And then finally, just a reminder that the January free games will go away at the end of this month. So if you have not used or activated these free games, make sure you do so before the end of the month. I will not read through them again because we went over them last week, but they're here as a reminder that Twitch Prime, PlayStation 4, the online version of PlayStation 4, and Xbox Live all provide free games due to having a subscription with each one of these services here. So make sure you're taking full advantage of your service and you download these free games. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. We will be back to our normal schedule of Friday next week on my birthday. It'll be a special birthday edition of Random Access. I hope you liked this episode, and if you have suggestions for future topics, formats, or styles on the show, please feel free to let me know, and I'd be glad to incorporate some of those ideas into our future shows. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.